Hi, Democrats. Today is Tuesday, August 15th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. So it's Tuesday, August 15th, so you know what I absolutely have to talk about, though I am loath to talk about the former president, but how could I not? So last night in Georgia, um, District Attorney Fani Willis, at 11:30 at night, her time, mind you, handed down 41 indictments on 19 people, including the former president. 41 charges, 19 people, including the former president, bringing his total to 91 indictments. So let me put that in context for you. 91 indictments, and that is not including the E. Jean Carroll case where he was found guilty of sexual abuse. Doesn't include that. Doesn't include all the stuff, that he did where he was discriminating in housing, and he's been sued for the fake college and the stakes, and not including that stuff. But as it pertains to the 2020 election, we're up to the 2020 election and actions that happened while he was president. We're up to 91. So to put that in context, when you think about criminal activity, when you think about prolific criminals in our country, the name Al Capone comes up. Al Capone was indicted on 22 charges. Al Capone, 22. Donald Trump, 91. Samuel Little, the confessed serial murderer who died in prison, who confessed to or was tied to 93 murders. 93 Samuel Little, 91 Donald Trump. Just to give you kind of some perspective of how big of a deal this is. And if you'll watch TV, and last night I spent over an hour over on Fox News watching to hear how they were covering it. Once I got past the guy crying, seriously, I listened to what they were saying. This is a politicization of the justice system. And if this is what they're going to do, we're just going to not pay them and blah, blah. What the heck? And what's amazing is they weren't saying he didn't do it. I don't believe he did it. They were just saying, but this is horrible. I agree with them. It is horrible. It is horrible that a former president has done enough, has been in proximity to, has been close to, has hung out with enough people who are guilty of doing misdeeds. Enough people who have turned on him and said that he was a participant in the misdeeds. Enough evidence of misdeeds that we're up to 91 charges. That's where we are. I'm not dancing in the streets yet. I'm not celebrating, because this is a former president of the United States, and the eyes of the world are on us, because not with my votes, but this man was elected president. This man was elected president in our nation and was allowed to serve a full term. And they're looking at us thinking, what the heck is happening? So we have to let this case play out. And when they talk about, well, what about Hunter Biden? It's as if they're pretending like Hunter Biden isn't dealing with legal consequences of his actions. He is. He's dealing with legal consequences of his actions. And what we're asking of the former president is that he take it like a man. Hunter Biden isn't all over social media threatening people. He isn't all over social media making a big deal, causing chaos, whereas the former president is. Hunter Biden wasn't called in on a special day in court to be told, keep your mouth shut, don't threaten anybody, don't intimidate the jury. The former president was. Those actions aren't things that people want to do. They're actions that people have to do based on the actions of who they're dealing with. And so when they say, what about, insert name here, insert Democrat boogeyman here, the answer is, okay, they've had to answer to their charges. Hillary Clinton sat for hours on end. No charges. Hunter Biden is going through his process right now. Let that happen. That doesn't erase the fact that Donald Trump has been charged with 91 indictments. That's where we are. So I've talked about that. We can't do anything about that here in Oklahoma. We just have to sit from the cheap seats way, way far away, thank goodness, and watch it play out. We're not far enough away, right? We're not far enough away because we live in Oklahoma, where there are people who live here who are still sending money for his defense fund, who are still planning to vote for him. What we have to do is make sure that this doesn't quiet down, make sure that they don't forget, and make sure that we say it enough that maybe it'll penetrate a little bit. Or maybe first-time voters will see this and they'll see the alternative. And right now, as far as I'm concerned, the alternative is President Joe Biden, who's getting things done. He's getting things done as much as he can. Oklahoma has been awarded $1.3 million for expanding broadband access. And you guys have heard me talk about this a lot because it touches all of the things that I think are important. Though we are not in the throes of a pandemic, we are still at a place where if a school gets overrun by sickness or anything, a school goes back to virtual learning. And that's a problem in certain communities where not everybody has access to broadband, reliable, affordable broadband. The federal government, Biden's administration, has given Oklahoma over $1 million to expand broadband. We have a whole commission who's supposed to be working on expanding broadband. They can't do anything about it because everybody's fighting over what lines. It affects education. It affects healthcare. Folks who live in rural communities who have over an hour to drive. But if they live in a place where they don't have reliable access, they can't even take advantage of telehealth. It touches education. It touches health. It touches business. If farmers and cattlemen have to deal with direct to market stuff and they need to be online to do that, they don't have reliable access to broadband, they can't do that. So it's interfering with economic opportunity. That money has been given to us, we're mishandling it. I don't know another way to share how disgusted I am with what's happening in our state and what's happening with the last president. And I do believe that they're connected. I do believe that they're connected because the leaders in the majority in our state have patterned themselves after the former president. Oklahoma needs to wake up. We don't want to follow that. Donald J. Trump is leading by bad example. And the leaders in our state, some of the leaders in our state, a lot of the leaders in the majority in our state have modeled themselves after Donald J. Trump. We can't let that happen. We have to keep our voices loud. We have to say to everyone we come in contact with that Oklahoma deserves better. And there are alternatives. People are signing up to run for office to counter that bad behavior all over the place. We have to support them. And if there's a place where you live and there's not someone countering the Trumper, the MAGA person, consider stepping up yourself. We all have to run for office or help someone run for office. That's where we are. I was prepared today to talk about all of the other misdeeds in our state, like the violations of Open Meetings Act and the taking homes by eminent domain and the willy-nilly handling of plate pay, where we're losing $4 to $5 million, where the superintendent of public instruction is attacking a public school. But it's too much, and I'm tired of talking about sad things. I want to talk about good things, and the good things are that at least 3 times a week, I'm encountering, talking to, and engaging with people who are talking about running for office. They're talking about taking our state back to a world of sanity, back to a world where the folks who are elected are at least sometimes thinking about the folks that they represent. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I want you to be talking about, wondering about, questioning. So when someone says that this is a politically motivated witch hunt, what's happening in Georgia, Florida, New York, and DC, make sure they understand that they're not connected and that he's done enough stuff to tie himself to that, and that Oklahoma deserves better. Oklahoma deserves better. So if you know somebody who might be a great candidate for office. Talk to them, find out why they're running, send them to your county chair. If your county chair is not available, send them to the Oklahoma Democratic Party. We'd love to engage with them, get them enrolled in some of the candidate training that we have, and get them ready to run for office. All righty. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow at 4:15. You guys have a great evening.